Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, Chapter 11. So, for the beginning of this chapter, consider what concerns does Janie have about Tea Cake, our new character. Janie wanted to ask Hezekiah about Tea Cake, but she was afraid he might misunderstand her and think she was interested. In the first place, he looked too young for her, must be around 25, and here she was around 40. Then again, he didn't look like he had too much. Maybe he was hanging around to get in with her and strip her of all that she had. Just as well if she never saw him again. He was probably the kind of man who lived with various women but never married. Fact is, she decided to treat him so cold if he ever did foot the place that he'd be sure not to come hanging around there again. So what concerns does Janie have about Tea Cake? So he's younger than her, so he is about 25 and she's around 40. And she realizes that he might be after her money and that also he might sleep around with women. And so she's worried that she can't trust him and that he might be out to hurt her somehow. And so she decides that she will treat him coldly if she sees him again so that he'll leave her alone. So let's see how that goes. He waited a week exactly to come back for Janie's snub. It was early in the afternoon and she and Hezekiah were alone. She heard somebody humming like they were feeling for pitch and looked towards the door. Tea Cake stood there, mimicking the tuning of a guitar. He frowned and struggled with the pegs of his imaginary instrument, watching her out of the corner of his eye with the secret joke playing all over his face. Finally, she smiled and he sung Middle C, put his guitar under his arm, and walked on back to where she was. "Evening, folks. Thought y'all might like a little music this evening, so I brought along my box." So in this page, consider how does the next meeting between Janie and Tea Cake go? "Crazy thing," Janie commented, beaming with light. He acknowledged the compliment with a smile and sat on a box. "Anybody have a Coca-Cola with me?" "I just had one," Janie temporized with her conscience. "It'll have to be done all over again, Miss Starks." "How come?" "'Cause it wasn't done right that time. Kaya, bring us 2 bottles from the bottom of the box." "How you been making out since I last saw you, Tea Cake?" "Can't kick. Could be worse. Maybe 4 days this week and I got the pay in my pocket." "We got a rich man right around here then, buying passenger trains and battleships this week?" "Which one do you want? It all depends on you." "Oh, if you're treating me to it, I believe I'll take the passenger train. If it blows up, I'll still be on land." "Choose the battleship if that's what you really want. I know where one is right now. Seen one round Key West the other day." "How you going to get it?" "Ah, shucks, them admirals is always old folks. Can't no old man stop me from getting no ship if that's what you want. I'd get a ship out from under him so slick he'd be walking in the water like old Peter before he knowed again." They played away the evening again. Everybody was surprised at Janie playing checkers, but they liked it. 3 or 4 stood behind her and coached her moves, and generally made merry with her in a restrained way. Finally, everybody went home but Tea Cake. "You can close up, Kaya," Janie said. Think I'll go home." Tea Cake fell in beside her and mounted the porch this time. So she offered him a seat, and they made a lot of laughter out of. So let's pause right there and talk about how Janie and Tea Cake's meeting is going. So remember that Janie had decided she was going to be cold towards Tea Cake so that he would know to leave her alone. And you see here that she immediately fails at being cold to him. They talk in jokes and stories, and she describes it as them playing. And so, similar to the first night they met, they fall right into getting along really, really well. And the townspeople of Eatonville are surprised to see her playing checkers, but they're happy to see her playing checkers, and they kind of support her in that. And so we see that Tea Cake's having a positive change on her. So let's pick back up on the next page. So they made a lot of laughter out of nothing. Near 11 o'clock, she remembered a piece of pound cake she had put away. Tea Cake went out to the lemon tree at the corner of the kitchen and picked some lemons and squeezed them for her. So they had lemonade too. "Moon's too pretty for anybody to be sleeping it away," Tea Cake said after they had washed up the plates and glasses. "Let's go fishing." "Fishing? This time of night?" "Uh-huh, fishing. I know where the bream is bedding. Seen him when I come around the lake this evening. Where's your fishing poles? Let's go sit on the lake." It was so crazy digging worms by lamplight and setting out for Lake Sibelia after midnight that she felt like a child breaking rules. That's what made Janie like it. They caught 2 or 3 and got home just before day. Then she had to smuggle tea cake out by the back gate, and that made it seem like some great secret she was keeping from the town. Miss Janie, Hezekiah began suddenly the next day, you oughtn't low that tea cake to be walking to the house with you. I'll go with you myself after this if you're scared. What's the matter with tea cake, Kaya? Is he a thief or something? I ain't never heard nobody say he stole nothing. Is he bad about toting pistols and knives to hurt people with? They don't say he ever cut nobody or shot nobody neither. Well, is he got a wife or something like that? Not that that's any of my business. She held her breath for the answer. No, and nobody wouldn't marry tea cake to starve to death, let's know somebody just like him. Ain't no use to nothing. Of course, he's always keeping hisself in changing clothes. So let's pause right there and talk about why does Hezekiah warn Janie about walking around with tea cake at night? So Hezekiah, he thinks that the behavior is too familiar, where tea cake's acting too familiarly with Janie. And so Janie gets slightly concerned and she asks Hezekiah who they call Kaya, if tea cake is a thief or if he's violent or if he's married. And I do want to point out that note how Janie holds her breath when she asks about if tea cake is single because she's hoping that he is. But Kaya says that tea cake isn't any of those things. He's not a thief, he's not violent, he's not married, and therefore there's no real problem in Janie hanging out with tea cake. It's just that Hezekiah is trying to protect Janie from what others might think of her. She's recently widowed. She's this wealthy woman who they've kind of put up on a pedestal, and tea cake is very poor and young, and so Hezekiah feels as though people are going to gossip about Janie and judge her, and he's trying to protect her from that. So let's pick back up. That long-legged tea cake ain't got doodly squat. He ain't got no business making himself familiar with nobody like you. I said I was going to tell you so you could know. Oh, that's all right, Hezekiah. Thank you mighty much. The next night, when she mounted her steps, tea cake was there before her, sitting on the porch in the dark. He had a string of fresh-caught trout for a present. I'll clean 'em, you fry 'em, and let's eat 'em, he said with the assurance of not being refused. They went out into the kitchen and fixed up the hot fish and corn muffins and ate. Then tea cake went to the piano without so much as asking and began playing blues and singing and throwing grins over his shoulder. The sounds lulled Janie to soft slumber, and she woke up with tea cake combing her hair and scratching the dandruff from her scalp. It made her more comfortable and drowsy. Tea cake, where you get a comb from to be combing my hair with? I brought it with me. Come prepared to lay my hands on it tonight. Why, tea cake? What good do combing my hair do to you? It's my comfortable, not yours. It's mine too. I ain't been sleeping so good for more'n a week, 'cause I have been wishing so bad to get my hands on your hair. It's so pretty. It feels just like underneath a dove's wing next to my face. You seem mighty easy satisfied. I've been have this same hair next to my face ever since I cried the first time, and ain't ever give me no thrills. I tell you like you told me. You's mighty hard to satisfied. I betcha them lips don't satisfy you neither. That's right, tea cake. They's there, and I make use of 'em whenever it's necessary, but nothing special to me. So let's pause right there and talk about what does tea cake combing Janie's hair symbolize. So a lot of you guys are focusing in on the hair symbol for your projects, and so this is a really good scene that you could use. So remember that Janie's hair symbolizes her identity. So for instance, when she's married to Jody and he has her tie her hair up in a handkerchief, her tied up hair symbolizes her repression and not being able to be herself at all, and the fact that she's incredibly unhappy in her marriage. Then after Jody dies and she takes off the handkerchief and she has her hair braided behind her back, it symbolizes her being restrained, where she's not repressed. She can still kind of do what she wants and be more of herself, but there's still rules and expectations that Eatonville has for her. And then in this scene where her hair is completely down, and also when she was 16 and her hair was completely down, that symbolizes her being free and comfortable and at ease. And so when TK combs her hair, this is him admiring her identity. And so this is a really positive thing where he finds her identity beautiful and he admires her identity and wants to take care of it. And this is a good sign that he respects Janie for who she is, and doesn't imagine her being someone else, kind of like Jody and Logan did. So let's pick back up reading. I betcha you don't never go to the looking glass and enjoy your eyes on yourself. You let other folks get all the enjoyment out of 'em without taking in any of it yourself. Nah, I never gazes at 'em in the looking glass. If anybody else gets any pleasure out of 'em, I ain't been told about it. See that? You's got the world in a jug, and make outa you don't know it. But I'm glad to be the one to tell you. I guess you done told plenty women all about it. I'm the Apostle Paul to the Gentiles. I tells 'em, and they again, I show 'em. I thought so. She yawned and made to get up from the sofa. You done got me so sleepy with your head scratchin', I can hardly make it to the bed. She stood up at once, collecting her hair. He sat still. Nah, you ain't sleepy, Miss Janie. You just want me to go. You figure I'm a rounder and a pimp, and you done wasted too much time talking with me. Why, tea-cake, whatever put that notion in your head? The way you looked at me when I said what I did, your face scared me so bad till my whiskers drawed up. I ain't got no business being mad at nothin' you do and say. You got it all wrong. I ain't mad at all. I know it, and that's what put the shamery on me. You's just disgusted with me. Your face just left here and went off somewhere else. Now you ain't mad with me. I'd be glad if you was, 'cause then I might do something to please you, but like it is. My likes and dislikes ought not to make no difference with you, tea-cake. That's for your lady friends. I'm just a sometimes friend to you. Janie walked towards the stairway slowly, and tea-cake sat where he was, as if frozen to his seat, in fear that once he, let's pause. So what conflict is occurring between Janie and tea-cake? Let's continue and see. What did I just say? In fear that once he got up, he'd never get back in it again. He swallowed hard and looked at her walk away. I didn't aim to let on to you about it, leastways not right away, but I'd rather be shot with tacks than for you to act with me like you is now. You got me, and the do go long. At the newel post, Janie whirled around, and for the space of a thought, she was lit up like a transfiguration. Her next thought brought her crashing down. He's just saying anything for the time being. Feeling he's got me, so I'll believe him. The next thought buried her under tons of cold futility. He's trading on being younger than me, getting ready to laugh at me for an old fool. But oh, what I wouldn't give to be 12 years younger so I could believe him. Ah, tea-cake, you just say that tonight because the fish and the cornbread tasted sort of good. Tomorrow, your mind would change. Nah, it wouldn't neither. I know better. Anyhow, from what you told me when we was back there in the kitchen, I'm merely 12 years older than you. I done thought about all that, and try to struggle against myself, but it don't do me no good. The thought of my youngness don't satisfy me like your presents do. It makes a whole heap of difference with most folks, tea-cake. Things like that got a whole lot to do with convenience, but ain't got nothing to do with love. Well, I'd love to find out what you think after sunup tomorrow. This is just your nighttime thoughts. You got your ideas and I got mine. I got $1 that says you're wrong, but I reckon you don't bet money neither. So, again, what conflict is occurring between Janie and tea-cake? So tea-cake thinks that Janie is judging him and dismissing him, essentially as a player. They kind of joke that tea-cake tells a lot of women that they're beautiful, and tea-cake plays along, and then Janie gets up to leave, and he feels as though that she's judging him for being someone who would sleep around and kind of use women, and that offends him. And Janie says that tea-cake shouldn't care what she thinks because they're just friends. But tea-cake indicates that he wants to be more than friends with Janie. And this idea scares Janie because she still thinks that he might be just trying to get her money, because she finds it difficult to believe that a young man like him would be interested in her. And so Janie kind of directly brings it up and says that she's older than him and that that's a problem. But tea-cake then kind of rebuts that he likes her too much to care about her age, and that her presence pleases him a lot more than the idea of being with someone who's the same age as him. So let's pause right there and we'll pick up in the next video to finish off the chapter. See you in a minute.